The crystalline spires of Araxis Prime shattered like glass under the relentless assault of the crystal swarm. Admiral Alina Tran watched from the bridge of her command vessel as the once beautiful planet's defense grid flickered and died. Another world lost. Another civilization on the brink of extinction. "We've lost contact with the ground forces," her communications officer reported, voice breaking. "The evacuation ships are requesting an immediate escort." Alina nodded, her face a mask of determination that hid the desperation clawing at her heart. "Deploy all fighters to cover their retreat. We're not losing any more civilians today." As the Federation fleet positioned itself between the fleeing evacuation ships and the advancing crystal swarm, Alina knew they were merely delaying the inevitable. The Federation had been fighting this enemy for nearly 2 years, and in that time, they had lost 17 colonies and 3 major worlds. Nothing in their arsenal seemed capable of stopping the crystalline entities that consumed everything in their path. "Admiral," her second-in-command Lieutenant Karax spoke softly beside her. Karax's feathered crest lay flat against his skull, a sign of distress among his species. "The High Council is requesting your presence at an emergency session." Alina cast one last look at the dying world below. Set course for Centauri Hub. Maximum speed. The sleek Federation vessel pulled away from the battlefield, its engines pushing to their limits. Behind them, the crystal swarm continued its methodical destruction of Araxis Prime, indifferent to the lives it was extinguishing, indifferent to the retreat of the Federation forces. They weren't an enemy that could be reasoned with or intimidated. They simply consumed, reproduced, and moved on to the next target. Alina spent the journey reviewing the battle data. The crystal swarm had adapted yet again, developing resistance to the Federation's quantum disruptors, their last effective weapon. Each engagement with the enemy revealed new aspects of their horrifying resilience. Centauri Hub, the diplomatic heart of the Federation, orbited a neutron star. The massive space station housed representatives from over 300 species that made up the Galactic Federation. As Alina's ship docked, she braced herself for the political battle ahead. The High Council chamber was a cacophony of voices when she entered. Representatives from across the galaxy argued among themselves, fear and desperation evident in their various biological expressions of distress. The room quieted as Alina took her place at the military command table. High Counselor Vexi, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, floated to the center of the chamber. "Admiral Tron?" Their voice resonated through the translator fields. "Your report on Araxis Prime." "Lost Counselor," Alina said simply. "The evacuation saved approximately 62% of the population. The crystal swarm has already begun converting the planet's resources to expand their numbers." Murmurs of despair rippled through the assembly. "We have exhausted our conventional options," Alina continued. "The enemy adapts too quickly to our weapons technology. Each victory is temporary, each defeat permanent. We need a new approach." "What do you suggest, Admiral?" asked Representative Vorkan, his chitinous mandibles clicking in agitation. "We have deployed every weapon in our combined arsenals." Alina took a deep breath. What she was about to propose would be controversial, perhaps even dangerous, but they had run out of alternatives. "There is one species we haven't approached," she said carefully. "A species with a unique perspective on warfare and survival." The chamber fell completely silent. "The humans," Alina finished. The silence shattered as dozens of representatives began speaking at once. "Deathworlders," exclaimed Representative Vorkan, rising from his seat. "You would bring those savages into our midst." "The species from Sol 3 has been quarantined for good reason," added another counselor. High Counselor Vex raised a limb of pure energy, and the chamber fell silent again. "Explain your reasoning, Admiral," they requested. Alina activated the holographic display at the center of the room. A blue and green planet appeared to Earth. "Humans evolved on what we classify as a death world, a planet with environmental conditions that would be lethal to most sentient species. High-gravity extreme temperature variations, diverse microbial threats, and predators that would terrify most of our citizens. She cycled through images of Earth's varied environments, from scorching deserts to frozen tundra-dense jungles to storm-ravaged coastlines. Their biological adaptations alone make them remarkable, but it's their psychology that sets them apart. Humans have spent their evolutionary history fighting against their environment, against predators, and against each other. Their recorded history is essentially a documentation of warfare. That is precisely why they were quarantined, Representative Vorkan interjected. Their propensity for violence makes them too dangerous. Or exactly what we need, Alina countered. The crystal swarm is unlike any enemy we've faced. Our peaceful civilization wasn't prepared for this kind of threat. We need allies who understand warfare at a fundamental level. And what makes you think these humans would help us? Asked an arachnid representative. We've been observing them from afar, not making contact. Alina smiled slightly, because helping others appears to be as fundamental to human nature as fighting. Their fiction is filled with stories of self-sacrifice and protection of the weak. And they've been looking to the stars for generations, hoping to find they're not alone in the universe. The council debated for hours. Alina presented data, historical analyses, and strategic projections. Finally, High Counselor Vex called for a vote. By the narrowest of margins, the council approved Alina's proposal. She would lead a diplomatic mission to Earth seeking an alliance with the mysterious Deathworlders. Understand this, Admiral, Vex warned as the session concluded. You will be personally responsible for any consequences of this contact. If the humans prove as dangerous as many fear, it will be on your head. Alina nodded. I understand, Counselor, but I believe this is our best chance for survival. As she returned to her ship, Lieutenant Carax fell in step beside her. A diplomatic mission to Earth, he remarked. This will be one for the historical archives. If we survive to write those archives, Alina replied. Her diplomatic team was small, chosen carefully from species that most closely resembled humans in appearance. They spent the journey studying Earth's languages, cultures, and social structures. Their global communication network contains vast amounts of information, reported Yara, their cultural specialist. They appear to be in a period of significant technological development, though they've yet to achieve interstellar travel. What about their military capabilities? Alina asked. Primitive by our standards, Lieutenant Carax answered, but highly effective for their technological level. And they are remarkably adaptable. Their forces can operate in virtually any environment, from deep ocean to high atmosphere, from Arctic regions to deserts. Perfect, Alina murmured. Adaptability was exactly what they needed against the crystal swarm. Earth grew larger in their view screens as they approached, a blue jewel orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, yet home to perhaps the most remarkable species in the known galaxy. Prepare the communication array, Alina ordered. Let's introduce ourselves. The message they broadcast was simple, a greeting in multiple Earth languages expressing peaceful intentions and requesting a meeting with Earth's leaders. The response was chaotic. Earth's various nations reacted with everything from excitement to terror. Military forces around the planet went on high alert. Communication channels exploded with theories, speculation, and fears about the alien vessel in orbit. They're directing us to land in a place called United Nations headquarters in a city called New York, Yara reported. Then that's where we'll go, Alina decided. She selected a small team for the first contact mission herself. Yara and 2 security officers equipped with defensive capabilities only. As their shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, Alina felt the weight of her mission pressing down on her. Everything, the survival of countless species, civilizations, and worlds, might depend on how well she could convince these humans to fight for people they'd never met. The shuttle landed on a designated area within a complex of buildings. Outside, human military forces had established a perimeter, and officials in formal attire waited nervously. Ready? Alina asked her team. As ready as one can be to meet Deathworlders on their home territory. Yara replied with a nervous flutter of her translucent wings. The shuttle's door opened, and Alina stepped out into the sunlight of Earth. The gravity was stronger than she was accustomed to, the air thicker, and filled with countless organic compounds. To her sensitive hearing, the city around them was almost deafeningly loud. A human-stepped forward female based on their research. She wore a dark blue outfit that their cultural database identified as formal diplomatic attire. "I am Secretary General Maya Rodriguez of the United Nations," she said. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world." Alina activated her translator. "I am Admiral Alina Tron of the Galactic Federation. We come seeking your help." The meeting that followed was unlike any diplomatic encounter in Federation history. Earth's leaders, representatives from various nations, gathered in a circular chamber to hear the aliens' plea. Alina did not mince words. She explained the threat of the Crystal Swarm showed recordings of their attacks and detailed the Federation's failing efforts to stop them. If they continue unchecked, she concluded, they will eventually reach Earth. "We believe your species has unique capabilities that might help us defeat this enemy." "What exactly are you asking for?" asked one of the human leaders. "Technology resources." "Fighters," Alina replied simply. "We need your soldiers, your military strategists, your warriors. We need humans who understand combat in ways our peaceful species never had to learn." The humans exchanged glances. There was skepticism, certainly, but Alina could see something else in their expressions. Interest, perhaps even excitement. "You've been watching us," said another human leader. "For how long?" "We discovered Earth approximately 200 of your years ago," Alina admitted. "We've observed your development, but maintained a policy of non-interference." "Until you needed cannon fodder," said a third leader, his voice sharp. Alina met his gaze steadily. "Until we faced extinction. Yes, we're asking you to fight. But we're also offering an opportunity to join the galactic community to gain access to technologies your species has only dreamed of to explore beyond your solar system." The humans debated among themselves for days. Alina and her team were provided accommodations while Earth's nations discussed the alien proposal. Public opinion was divided. Many saw this as humanity's chance to reach for the stars, while others feared exploitation or deception. Finally, a decision was reached. Earth would send a contingent of military forces to aid the Federation volunteers, only with representatives from multiple nations. In exchange, the Federation would share certain technologies and establish Earth as a probationary member. Commander Jace Morris was among the first to volunteer. A veteran of several Earth conflicts, he had the combat experience the Federation desperately needed. When he first boarded Alina's ship, his expression was a mixture of awe and suspicion. "So," he said, looking around at the advanced technology surrounding him, "you've been watching us fight each other for centuries, and now you want us to fight for you. I understand your skepticism." "Commander," Alina replied, "but the Crystal Swarm threatens all life, including yours. We're not asking you to sacrifice yourselves for our sake alone." Jace studied her for a moment. "Fair enough. But let's get one thing straight. My people aren't expendable resources. If we're fighting together, we fight as equals." Alina nodded. "That's exactly what I'm counting on, Commander." Over the following weeks, human military forces were transported to Federation outposts. The integration was not without challenges. Many Federation species found humans terrifying their physical resilience, their comfort with violence, and their unpredictable emotions were alien traits to civilizations that had evolved in more forgiving environments and had left warfare behind generations ago. Meanwhile, humans were often frustrated by what they perceived as excessive caution and bureaucracy in Federation military procedures. "We need to understand how these crystal things fight," Jace insisted during a strategy session. "What are their weaknesses?" "Everyone has a weakness." They adapt rapidly, Alina explained. Any vulnerability we exploit quickly becomes ineffective. Then we need to hit them with multiple strategies simultaneously, Jace argued. Overwhelm their ability to adapt. His aggressive approach unsettled many of the Federation officers, but Alina saw the wisdom in it. The Federation had been fighting defensively, reacting to the swarm's advances. Perhaps it was time to take the initiative. Dr. Lin Tao, a brilliant physicist from Earth, worked alongside Federation scientists to analyze the crystal swarm's composition. Their structure is fascinating, she explained during a briefing. They're silicon-based life forms with a crystalline lattice that can reconfigure at the molecular level. It's how they adapt so quickly. Can we disrupt that reconfiguration process? Alina asked. Dr. Tao's eyes lit up. Possibly. Rapid temperature fluctuations might stress the lattice beyond its ability to compensate. I'd need to run some simulations. Do it, Alina ordered. The first joint Human Federation operation targeted a crystal swarm incursion in the Procyon system. Federation ships provided transportation and long-range support, while human forces led the ground assault against the swarm's established foothold. Alina watched from orbit as the human troops deployed. Their tactics were unlike anything she had seen before. Aggressive, adaptable, and seemingly chaotic, yet clearly coordinated. They used the environment to their advantage, setting traps and ambushes rather than engaging in direct confrontation. Your people fight differently, Representative Vorkaean observed. He had joined the mission as an observer for the Council, his initial opposition to human involvement still evident in his demeanor. We fight to win, Commander Jace replied tersely as he coordinated the ground forces. The operation was a success, the first clear victory against the swarm in months. The human forces suffered casualties, but far fewer than expected. More importantly, they had prevented the swarm from establishing a new colony. This is just the beginning, Jace told Alina as his troops returned to the ships. We're learning how they fight. Next time, we'll do better. Over the following months, the joint forces launched more operations against the swarm. Each engagement refined their tactics. Dr. Tao's temperature fluctuation theory proved effective. Human forces developed weapons that could rapidly heat and cool sections of the swarm, causing their crystalline structures to crack and shatter. But the crystal swarm was still advancing on multiple fronts. The Federation simply didn't have enough human allies to cover every threatened system. We need more forces, Alina admitted during a strategy session with Jace and the senior human officers. Then let's get them, Jace replied. Earth has millions of potential volunteers, but they need to know what they're fighting for. What are you suggesting? Take me back to Earth. Let me show our leaders what we're up against, what we've accomplished, and what's still at stake. Let them see that this alliance is real. Alina agreed. They returned to Earth with evidence of their victories and projections of the continuing threat. Earth's response exceeded all expectations. Nations that had been hesitant now committed substantial forces. Military academies developed specialized training programs for space combat against the swarm. The tide began to turn. Human ingenuity combined with Federation technology created new weapons and tactics that the swarm couldn't adapt to quickly enough. The joint forces began reclaiming lost territories. Not everyone in the Federation was comfortable with this development. Representative Vorkaean continued to voice concerns about the growing human presence. They're integrating into our military too quickly, he warned Alina. What happens when the swarm is defeated? Will these warriors simply return to Earth and forget the power they've wielded among the stars? We need them, Alina reminded him, and they've proven themselves honorable allies. Thus far, Vorkaean conceded. But, I've studied their history, Admiral. War is in their nature. Can a predator truly change its instincts? The question haunted Alina as she watched humans become increasingly essential to the Federation's defense. They were natural leaders in combat situations, Their instincts, honed by millennia of warfare. Federation troops found themselves deferring to human officers in battle, regardless of official rank. Yet she also saw another side of humanity. After battles, human medics worked tirelessly to treat injured allies of all species. Off-duty soldiers shared stories and formed bonds with beings completely unlike themselves. They fought fiercely, yes, but they also protected with equal passion. The Crystal Swarm, perhaps sensing the changing nature of the conflict, launched a massive assault on Centauri Hub itself. If the diplomatic heart of the Federation fell, the alliance might crumble. Alina found herself commanding the largest fleet in Federation history, a blend of advanced Federation vessels and retrofitted human ships, crewed by beings from hundreds of worlds fighting alongside humans from Earth. "They're targeting the central reactor," her tactical officer reported as the swarm ships swarmed around the massive space station. "Divert all available forces to protect that sector," Alina ordered. "Admiral," Jace's voice came through the communication system. "My squadron is closest. We're moving to intercept." Alina watched as the human fighters engaged the swarm vessels at close range, too close for conventional safety parameters. But the humans understood something fundamental about combat that many Federation species had forgotten. Sometimes victory required risk. The battle raged for hours. Federation ships maintained a defensive perimeter, while human forces conducted surgical strikes against swarm concentrations. On the station itself, human Marines fought alongside Federation security forces to repel swarm boarders. Dr. Tao, who had been on the station upgrading its defensive systems, found herself trapped in a laboratory with Representative Vorkin when swarm entities breached that section. "Stay behind me," she told the Federation diplomat, picking up an improvised weapon. "You cannot hope to defeat them." Vorkin clicked his mandibles, trembling in fear. "Maybe not," Dr. Tao agreed, "but I can slow them down until help arrives." When the swarm entities burst through the laboratory door, Dr. Tao met them with a makeshift flamethrower she had constructed from laboratory equipment. The sudden heat caused the crystalline entities to crack and falter. By the time a human Marine squad reached them, Dr. Tao was injured, but had successfully protected Vorkin. "You risked your life," the representative said as medics treated her burns. "For me, someone who has opposed your kind's involvement." Dr. Tao managed a pained smile. That's what allies do. The battle for Centauri Hub became the turning point in the war. The swarm assault was repelled, and in its aftermath, the Federation Council unanimously voted to elevate Earth's status from probationary member to full ally. Alina stood before the council, her uniform bearing the scars of battle, to deliver her report. "The Crystal Swarm has been pushed back from Federation space," she announced. "Thanks to our human allies, we have developed tactics and technologies that can counter their adaptations. For the first time, we have hope of not merely surviving, but winning this conflict." High Counselor Vex's energy form pulsed with what Alina had learned to recognize as approval. "Admiral Tran, your controversial decision to contact Earth has been vindicated. The humans have proven themselves to be more than warriors. They are protectors, innovators, and true allies." Representative Vorkin stepped forward, his once hostile posture now subdued. "I move that we establish a permanent joint military command structure with equal representation for human officers. Their perspective is invaluable not just for this conflict, but for the future security of the Federation." The motion passed with overwhelming support. Later, Alina found Jace on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Thinking about Earth?" she asked, joining him at the viewport. "Thinking about everything," he replied. "When I volunteered, I thought I was signing up for another war. I didn't expect this." He gestured at the vast expanse before them. "Regrets?" Alina asked. Jace shook his head. "No. For the first time, I feel like fighting has a purpose beyond survival or politics. We're protecting something bigger than ourselves." "That's what the Federation has always been about," Alina said. "Peace through mutual protection and cooperation. We just forgot that sometimes protection requires strength." The final confrontation with the crystal swarm took place in deep space, far from any inhabited worlds. The joint fleet led by Alina and Jace had tracked the swarm to its primary nexus, a massive crystalline structure that served as both hive and factory. "All ships in position," Lieutenant Carax reported. "Human forces are ready for deployment." "Begin the assault," Alina ordered. The battle that followed would be studied by military strategists for generations to come. Federation ships provided cover and support, while human vessels executed precision strikes against key structural points identified by Dr. Tao's research team. "Target the central spire," Dr. Tao advised from her position in the science vessel. "If we can destabilize the main lattice, the entire structure should collapse." The swarm defended its nexus with unprecedented ferocity, adapting rapidly to each attack. But for every adaptation, the human Federation forces had multiple counters prepared. "They can't keep up," Jace observed as another section of the nexus crumbled under concentrated fire. "They've never had to adapt to so many different attack vectors simultaneously." The battle reached its climax when a small team, humans and Federation specialists, boarded the nexus itself to plant quantum disruptors at critical junctures. Alina, despite her rank, insisted on leading the mission. "Admiral, this is unnecessarily risky," Forcan protested. He had joined the fleet as the Council's observer. "Necessary risk?" Alina corrected him. "Someone needs to ensure those disruptors are placed correctly." Inside the nexus, the team fought through crystalline defenders, placing their charges with precision despite the hostile environment. When the final charge was set, they had only minutes to reach the extraction point. "We're not going to make it," one of the Federation specialists calculated as crystalline entities closed in from multiple directions. "Yes, we are," Alina insisted. "Together." The team formed a defensive ring, each member covering the others, as they fought their way toward extraction. Human resilience and Federation technology complemented each other perfectly. Where one faltered, the other compensated. When they finally reached the shuttle and launched away from the doomed nexus, Alina allowed herself a moment of relief. "Detonation in 3, 2, 1. The weapons officer counted down. The quantum disruptors activated simultaneously, creating a cascading failure throughout the crystalline structure. The nexus shattered its fragments, dispersing into space, no longer able to maintain coherence. "Is it over?" Forcan asked as they watched the destruction from the shuttle viewport. "This battle is," Alina replied, "but there will be others." The return to Centauri Hub was triumphant. The Federation celebrated its first major victory over an existential threat, a victory made possible by an alliance that many had considered unthinkable. In the council chamber, Alina and Jace stood side by side as High Counselor Vex addressed the gathered representatives. "Today marks a new chapter in our history, the energy being proclaimed. The defeat of the Crystal Swarm demonstrates what we can achieve when we combine our strengths. The humans have earned not only our gratitude, but our respect. And something more," Alina added, stepping forward. "They've earned their place among the stars." The Council formally recognized Earth as a full member of the Federation, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. Human representatives would join the Council. Human scientists would collaborate with Federation researchers, and human explorers would venture into the galaxy alongside other Federation species. "It won't always be easy," Alina told Jace as they watched the celebrations afterward. "Our cultures are very different." "The best partnerships usually are," Jace replied. "Differences create strength when they're respected." In the months that followed, human presence throughout Federation space expanded rapidly. Some humans returned to Earth sharing their experiences and technologies. Others remained among the stars serving on Federation vessels or settling on distant worlds. Dr. Tao established a research institute where scientists from Earth and the Federation could collaborate on new technologies inspired by their victory over the swarm. "The crystalline lattice structure has remarkable properties," she explained to Alina during a tour of the facility. We're developing materials that could revolutionize construction medicine, even space travel. Turning our enemy's strength into our own, Alina observed. Isn't that the human way? Dr. Tao smiled. We adapt, we learn, we grow. Not all challenges were so easily overcome. Cultural misunderstandings led to occasional conflicts. Human directness sometimes offended Federation species, accustomed to more circumspect communication. Conversely, Federation bureaucracy often frustrated humans used to more immediate action. Representative Vorkan, once the most vocal opponent of human involvement, became an unexpected advocate for integration. His experience during the battle for Centauri Hub had profoundly changed his perspective. We feared your capacity for violence, he told a gathering of human officers. We failed to recognize that the same passion that drives you to fight also drives you to protect. It is not despite your warlike history that you make valuable allies, but because of it. You understand the price of peace in a way we had forgotten. A year after the defeat of the Crystal Swarm, Alina found herself back on Earth, standing before the United Nations as a Federation representative rather than a supplicant. The galaxy is larger and more wondrous than any of us could have imagined, she told the assembled leaders. It is also more dangerous. The Federation once believed that peace could be maintained through isolation and diplomacy alone. You taught us that sometimes peace must be defended actively and forcefully. And what did we learn from you? Secretary General Rodriguez asked. Alina smiled. That fighting is not an end in itself. That diversity creates strength. That differences can unite rather than divide when there's a common purpose. She paused. In truth, I believe we have only begun to learn from each other. As she left the United Nations building, Alina looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, Federation and human ships patrolled together. Scientists of all species collaborated on new discoveries. Diplomats forged connections between civilizations that had never before communicated. The Crystal Swarm had been an existential threat, but it had also been the catalyst for an unlikely alliance. An alliance that promised to reshape the galaxy humans, once feared for their warlike nature, were now valued for their passion, resilience, and unwavering commitment to protecting those they considered their own. And the Federation, in embracing these former Deathworlders, had rediscovered a fundamental truth. True strength comes not from avoiding conflict, but from facing it together with courage and compassion in equal measure. The stars above seemed brighter, somehow filled with new possibilities, new worlds to explore, new challenges to overcome, and new friendships to forge across the vast distances of space. Well, Alina murmured to herself, this is just the beginning.